How's it going, y'all? It's your boy 12 Pack, and today I'm going to help you learn or dial in your power loops and your split S's. Everybody should get something out of this video, so it's not just for noobs. All right, let's get into it. So one of the first things you want to do when you're starting a power loop is you want to learn a split S. And one of the best ways to do it is find two really big tall objects with a decent space apart, like these trees. And then when you split S, shoot up over them. Get upside down, grab that horizon completely upside down, and then you swoop back in, and you're gradually putting in your throttle and your pitch. You're rolling the pitch back in, see that? And then you're engaging the throttle. See, I went late on the throttle to just show you how I'm kind of rolling the pitch back in like that. But if I don't grab that throttle, I'm gonna smack the ground. So it's a combination of both. See, I'm easing the pitch back in, I'm leveling it back out at the same time as I'm easing in the throttle. The better you do it, the less you're gonna have like prop wash. So that prop wash is a good indicator that you're not going smooth enough. Like if I were to just come, see, mine are pretty smooth, so I'm gonna try and do one with jerky. See, that's, if you kind of level out like this, and then that's when you're going to get more prop wash. So the better you get at this, find a smaller gap to do it through. Like you can go over these trees. And see, I have to be more precise because it's I'm coming in through a smaller gap. So it's gonna, the smaller gaps you use, it's gonna force you to get smoother and better. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a split S with my preferred angle, 60. See, I just see more what's going on. Woo. Okay. Now the other thing, if you're doing, like if you're going to hit a gap at the top of a power loop, like this, over here, I'll show you this, I'm going to hit a double gap right here. So if you're going to do that kind of stuff, one of the ways, this is where the split S really helps. See, the split S is going to help me just become spatially aware of getting through these gaps, what it takes to get through these gaps, like the throttle that I got to use, the little pop, all that stuff. And you're doing it like in a position that's a lot easier. Like a split S is a little easier than doing a power loop, at least in the beginning. So the more you do those split S's like that, you're just going to become like spatially aware. You're going to sort of know the timing and all that stuff, so that when you come in and do the same thing like this, you've already done like essentially 50% of it. And so the only part that's new is this part right here. That, the last part, you've already done and you're comfortable with. So my first tip for the power loop here, especially if you're doing this in real life, is to find two really tall objects a decent distance apart. Now if you're a noob, you're going to want them further apart and as tall as you can get, because basically what this is giving you is it's letting you see where you are spatially. The more new you are, the wider you want the gap to be. So you could even do it like right here. See that? I'm just doing it enough to keep those treetops in my view, and that way I could tell where I am. See, I can see when I'm moving back, because if you don't have those treetops, see how I just shot up right there? It was hard for me to see that I'm moving back like that. So when you're a noob, that's one of the hardest things, especially when you have a low camera tilt, is once you get up and you're sort of just looking at sky, you're blind and it's hard to see how far you're traveling back. And a lot of people have a tendency to just go straight up like that and not really move. See how I didn't really like go anywhere? I just sort of shot straight up and it felt like I was moving. That time I moved. But that happens a lot when people are just first getting started, is like that. See, I didn't really move as far back as I thought. But if you have those trees in perspective, see, now I can really see myself moving. So that's my first big tip to anybody, like especially the more new you are. Find a place with something really tall so you can see it, but also a lot of wide open space. And that way you can like track your movement when you're in this position. The next step is to find a small gap. Make sure you can catch the quad with your throttle and your pitch in time to come back through that gap. The smaller the gap, the harder this one's gonna be. So that's your two things to practice. You start out with something like this, really big, and keep those treetops in view, and then you can see essentially what's going on, where you're moving, because you've got something to keep, like a point of reference to see how you're moving essentially. See, those let you know that you're moving backwards, when otherwise you're gonna have a hard time seeing that if you're just looking up at sky. So one of the things I want to tell you guys about is your camera angles. If you're doing PowerLoops, your camera angle can really change how well you do them or how easy they are to do. If you're doing a really flat camera angle like you just saw me do, you're like, look where your camera's pointed as you're power looping. It's pointed up when you're actually going this way. So the more you angle your camera, see, now my camera's pointed this way and I'm actually going, see, this is where my camera's looking where my hand is. If you follow it, see, it's going through the power loop. So jacking up your camera angle will help your power loops a lot. And if you're, whatever you're used to flying, you can go up about 10 or 15 degrees before you notice it in your sticks and have to like get used to that angle. If you're going up more than that, you're gonna actually have to take some time flying at that angle. But what I did is I just moved up in increments about 10 or 15 degrees at a time. Once I got really used to that new angle, I did it again and again, and then it made it really easy. Like, I didn't even barely notice that my camera angle was changing, except for the added abilities that it gave me while I was flying. So see, I could see through that gap the whole time. Basically, because the higher your camera tilt, the more you're like seeing into the power loop. So now, even if you don't want to fly at a high camera tilt, like you're like, I'm fine flying 20 or 30 or whatever it is, and I really like it and I don't want to change my camera angle, I'm suggesting that you change your camera angle just temporarily to get yourself really used to power loops. Because once you have the muscle memory for it, it really doesn't matter what angle you're at, you're gonna still feel it the same. Because you've sort of felt how the sticks and the timing of it, that the fact that you can't really see the best is not gonna matter as much. So you can see here, like, since I have this high camera tilt, it's really pretty easy for me to do this. And now the more you practice too, similar to when I was doing the orbits and all that, you're going to get to where a spot where you're barely moving your sticks. If you're doing it like an orbit like this, you can have a locked in spot where you're barely moving the sticks at all. Same with a trippy spin. But when you're doing like a power loop or a Matty, it's a little different because you're working with gravity. So you're gonna have, like, you can get close to not moving your sticks very much, but you're gonna have a little bobble in the throttle at the very least. We're mostly doing it just fluctuating the throttle. And that's when you know you're really getting good at it, when you can just keep these objects right in the view. Look at, I'm keeping that branch in view the whole time. Now that's because I have a high camera tilt. Like, that's a lot trickier to do when you're on a low camera tilt. But one of the biggest things, okay, I've given you some tips, the camera angle, the kind of environments you want to practice in, doing the split S. Those are my biggest tips, but really the biggest tip is practice, practice, practice. This is one of those things that takes just a good bit of practice. I could even use practice. Now I've been flying 7 years. I don't think I'm like absolutely perfect at it, and I can always get better and improve. Just to give you an idea of the kind of practice I'm talking about, when I was like a noob in my first year of flying, I sat there for a week straight doing nothing but power looping gates in real life. Every day I would fly my 12 packs a day and just sit there and loop the gate over and over and over and over and over again. And that only got me a little bit there. Then I've actually put a shitload of time into sims. Like, I will go into a sim and just power loop like the same thing over and over and over again while I'm watching like something mindless or something I don't actually have to watch, like a David Attenborough documentary or something where you're just listening to it essentially, or even putting on music and just whatever you can sort of occupy your brain with, and then just mindlessly sit there and power loop over and over and over and over and over again. This will get your power loops just dialed in. All right, thanks for watching, y'all. Hope that helped you a bunch with your power loops and your split S's and your progression in FPV. But if you like the video, please leave a like, leave me a comment. That shit goes a long way. Really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, y'all. 12 pack out.